Hey class, I just wanted to go over a couple of these examples from past students and just, kind of go over what's working and, what's not working and just to show you kind of the level of development. So this one is very successful. And one reason it is because she used different values of this red color. So if you use the same color but different values, some lighter, some darker, it'll give it more depth, so that's really successful. The background also is successful because she used the element of scale, and she made some clouds small and some bigger. The smaller clouds, will look like they're further away, so again it creates depth. She also did a great job with the curves on the pen tool, as you can see. Now remember, we're just using the pen tool for this, so we're not using any auto things like live paint or image trace or anything, and it's pretty easy to see if you do because the paths are open, not closed. Live paint's really nice for that. You don't have to really make a good closed path with the pen tool because live paint takes care of that, but we're not using that in this class, so if I see any open paths, I'll probably just ask you to redo it. So I just want to move along here. Here's another one of the same one, and again, I kind of really like the night sky. I probably would have brought him down a little bit because there's a lot of conflicting forms right here. It's hard to see some of the wings just because of the lightning. I just would have worked a little bit more on making the guy stand out more in the background. Here's another really cool one, and again, now what they could have done is well, let me first talk about why it's really cool. Notice how they overlap the grass. That's a really nice feature. Overlap is another technique from drawing. These are all kind of drawing techniques that, you don't have to be a masterful drawer, but if you know some of these drawing concepts, it'll really help. So what they could have done to even make it look better is they could have made the size of the clouds different sizes. They could have made the gradient in a different direction because the sky usually, I think it's light at the bottom, I can't remember, but the sky always has a gradient going in the other direction. They could have also made some of these little grass objects a lot bigger in the foreground, and then medium, and then smaller. So, but again, overall, really nice job. Here's another one, and this one came out really good too. And I love his use of the overlap with this little, butterfly or whatever. He could have made one of the clouds a little smaller if he wanted to, and he could have worked on the gradient. Everybody uses the gradient, but they don't really know why. They just think it looks good. Gradients are usually used for shading. So anyway, I'll post some good tutorials about that. But again, several colors of this gray color really makes the wolf look great. His pen tool curves are excellent. So yeah, that one works really good. Now I really like what they did with this water here, but again, they could have, I would have moved this down a little, but this is too much negative space. It's too much empty space. So what happens is it just looks kind of unfinished. So this background probably got dinged for points because, it's kind of unfinished looking. So this one's really cool. This one is pretty creative. I really like how he put the fish in the bowl. I probably would have made the fish a little bit smaller and worked more on the contrast. It's hard to see the fish, some of the parts of the fish with the purple background because they're too close in value. So if you have dark on dark is hard to see, but again, you can see the light on dark works great, like this orange. Or I could have used a lighter stroke around the edges, like, even a white to make it stand out. But I really like his, his innovation with the bowl. So let's see what else we have. This one's really cool too. You can't see it, but there's something written on the sign that's really funny. These are JPEGs, so they kind of end up getting kind of, pixelated. But again, really nice use of the pen tool, a couple little rough edges. He could have also worked on the scale of the clouds, and he could have done a little bit more work with some of the stuff in the foreground. And hard horizon lines are usually hard to deal with too. Sometimes just a little rolling hill really works. Now here's one that got full credit because notice that they did develop the sky a little bit more. I'm not fond of these canned effects, as I've told you before, but since everything else came out pretty good, this is fine. But when you use the canned effects, you're not really learning anything. And in this class, you will not get as much credit because it's also not original as if you use these effects. So again, this is a really cool one too. Now I love the color. They did a great job with the color and the pen tool. Again, a little bit more work needs to be done with these stars, and I'll be posting some tutorials about how to make stars in Illustrator. It's super easy just to Google that. If you Google how to make stars in Illustrator, you'll get tons of tons of tutorials. But again, great moon, really nice organization, really nice use with the pen tool, great color. Just a little bit of gradient here and then the blue eyes, so that works really good. Well, here we have another night concept, and again, these stars even, they just really mess the whole thing up because they're everything else looks really good. Then the stars look like kind of cartoons. They look very juvenile. The moon looks great, so stay away from these stars. Make your own stars if you want to. This just, you wouldn't want to use something with a bunch of stars in it for your portfolio. It looks too cartoony. It doesn't look professional. So, yeah. So let's see what we have here. Now again, as you know, I don't like these canned things, and so they definitely, they lost some credit for this. And there's also not much of a reason for the gradient, so they got a really good grade for the fish because the fish looks beautiful. I mean, look at the really subtle gradients that look really nice. The pen tool curves look great, but they did get point ding for the background, so be sure to note the background's a big part of it. Oh, this one's really fun. I mean, he kind of went crazy on this one and made it kind of psychedelic, but the mountains look awesome. And again, with this texture, if he would have made the foreground pieces of this grass texture bigger, it would have more depth. And I wouldn't have had the straight line. I probably would have had it kind of roll too, because this is kind of a little bit of a problem, but everything else looks really cool. Notice how he put it over the tail and stuff, and really nice pen tool work. Okay, this one's kind of cute, and again, nice colors, different colors of this pink, lighter and darker. Nice sizes with the clouds. So overall, this is a pretty good job. I would have worked, and I'll post some more tutorials. I would have looked on, YouTube how to draw clouds in Illustrator. But overall, this got a pretty high score. The pen tool's executed well. The background looks really pretty good. Nice use of depth. I think I have just this one more. Again, this one's, just with a little bit more work, this would be a really good portfolio piece. Again, the canned textures just don't do it when combined with Illustrator. There really has to be a reason. Again, he did some scale with the flowers, but just he didn't place them enough, and they're kind of random, so there's a lot of negative space through here. And again, the texture on the road does not work at all. But overall, he divided the space pretty well. So overall, he got a pretty good grade for the background, even though there's some issues with it. And again, look at the pen tool. I wanted to show you one more that actually got a good grade, but I love the creativity with this head thing, and I love the towel, and I love the inner tube, but a couple things don't work. This black is like a void. It's just too much contrast. They need to bring it down, make it a lighter color, maybe even a yellow like this. This drop shadow effect does not work at all for these clouds. It makes them look flat. So stay away from those kinds of things. If you want to make shadows, just Google that again. Clouds don't have shadows like this, so some of the background got dinged, but overall, really nice job. So I want to show you one more thing in Illustrator, and it has to do, actually I'm going to do it in another video because I'm already going on too long. So, okay, so I hope this helps, and yeah, just the main things to remember, all pen tool, and you need to show a certain level of development. It's pretty easy to see a rush job, especially when it's turned in like right at the deadline or right after. And I know we're all busy, so it's not, that's totally up to you if you don't have enough time to spend. But I would suggest starting early, not waiting till Sunday night. If you're waiting till the weekend, start early as possible. As I also said, you can always send me drafts for feedback. Okay, so overall, this is a really fun assignment. The animals are in, in the iLab area, and the ice cream illustration will give you all the skills to use all these curves with the pen tool. So again, this class is really about the pen tool. As you've seen, Illustrator is all about that, and that's what you need to learn to master. So okay, so have fun, and it's just really have fun because this is a really fun assignment. Okay, so in the more time you develop these skills early on in the class, the easier you're going to have in the next weeks where it does get pretty complicated. Okay, so yeah, have a great weekend.